August 19, 2024, a date that will live in infamy in the cryptocurrency world. On this seemingly ordinary day, a group of young adults, none older than 21, executed one of the largest crypto heists ever recorded. They didn't crack complex security systems or write sophisticated malware. They didn't need years of hacking expertise or advanced coding knowledge. What they did was far simpler and infinitely more effective. They hacked human psychology itself. This is the story of how a 20-year-old kid named Malone Lam and his crew stole $230 million worth of Bitcoin, spent it faster than anyone thought possible, and watched their empire crumble in spectacular fashion. The crew and the plan. The operation involved 5 key players: 20-year-old Malone Lam, 18-year-old Veer Chittal, known as Wiz, 21-year-old Jandiel Serrano, known as Box, Danish Khan, and Chen. These weren't seasoned criminals or professional hackers. They were kids who understood one fundamental truth: the weakest link in any security system is always the human being operating it. Their target? A single Genesis creditor who had no idea he was about to lose $230 million in Bitcoin. The victim wasn't careless or stupid. He simply fell prey to a sophisticated social engineering attack that exploited basic human instincts: trust in authority, fear of loss, and the desire to protect what's yours. The execution. Phase 1. Google support. It all began with a phone call. The victim's phone rang, displaying what appeared to be a legitimate Google support number. But this call wasn't from Google at all. It was from Veer Chittal, using sophisticated number spoofing technology. With practiced urgency, Wiz convinced the victim that his personal accounts had been compromised. The false sense of emergency created exactly the psychological pressure they needed. Through this fabricated crisis, Wiz gained access to the victim's Gmail and iCloud accounts, systematically gathering key security information that would prove critical in the next phase of the operation. The victim, believing he was protecting himself, was actually handing over the keys to his digital kingdom. Phase 2. The Gemini deception. Another call followed, this time from Jandiel Serrano, Box, claiming to represent Gemini, the cryptocurrency exchange the victim actually used. The level of detail they had was alarming and convincing. They knew which exchange he used, they had information about his accounts, and they presented themselves with the authority of legitimate customer service representatives. The victim was convinced his account was under active attack. Under immense pressure and believing he needed to act immediately to prevent catastrophic loss, the victim reset his 2-factor authentication settings, the exact action the thieves needed. This single decision gave them complete access to the Gemini account, allowing them to quickly transfer funds to a compromised wallet. The victim thought he was securing his assets. In reality, he was facilitating their theft. Phase 3, the final blow. When the victim was asked to install AnyDesk, a legitimate remote access software, it seemed like just another security measure. Departments use such software all the time. What could be the harm? But this was the final piece of their plan, the coup de grace that would complete the heist. As the victim unknowingly shared his screen, believing he was working with legitimate support staff to secure his accounts, the private keys to his Bitcoin wallet were exposed. In cryptocurrency, whoever controls the private keys controls the money. There's no bank to call, no fraud department to reverse transactions. Once those keys were visible, it was over. In just a few clicks, the digital fortune was transferred into the hands of the thieves. In a private video that would later prove catastrophic for their defense, the crew recorded their live reactions to the successful transfer of 4,064 bitcoins, valued at over $230 million at the time. Their excitement was palpable and uncontrolled as they watched millions flow into their wallets. The recording captured not just their celebration, but critical identifying information that would later be used against them. Questions immediately arise. How could someone wealthy enough to own $230 million in Bitcoin be deceived so easily? Why would these criminals record themselves committing such a massive crime? These questions might never be fully answered, but one thing was absolutely clear: the money was now in criminal hands, and they knew their work wasn't finished. The laundering operation. Exactly 17 minutes after the theft, they began the laundering process. To make it harder for authorities to track the stolen cryptocurrency, they split the Bitcoin into smaller amounts and transferred it across 15 different exchanges, a common tactic known as peel chains. The strategy was to break large transactions into smaller ones, making them exponentially harder to trace. Bitcoin was swapped for Litecoin. Litecoin was swapped for Ethereum. Ethereum was swapped for Monero. The process took several days, with constant swapping between different currencies and exchanges, further obscuring the trail. Each transaction added another layer of complexity to the forensic analysis that would inevitably follow. Soon enough, all the stolen money was clean and ready to be spent, and these criminals didn't hold back. The day before the heist even took place, they were already planning their spending spree, sharing links on Telegram of expensive luxury clothing they wanted to purchase from brands like Louis Vuitton, Givenchy, and Philippe Plein. While most of the crew chose to play it safe, keeping a low profile and resisting the temptation to splurge conspicuously, one person couldn't help but stand out. His name? Malone Lam. Malone's luxury lifestyle. Malone was based in Los Angeles, and the moment he got his hands on the money, he wasted no time diving headfirst into a luxurious lifestyle. Everything he'd once watched wealthy people enjoy was now within his reach, ready to become his new reality. Nightclubs became his second home. Almost every night, he hit the clubs, spending ridiculous amounts of money on VIP sections and bottle service. His bar tabs were unbelievable. Some nights costing $265,000, $300,000, and even more than $500,000 in a single night. If you were in one of those clubs, you couldn't miss him. His name would be flashing on signs, and DJs would shout his name, giving him all the attention he craved. He quickly became everyone's favorite because whenever he was around, everyone got to drink for free. He threw around cash like it was meaningless. One time, he handed a DJ a massive 6-liter bottle of Golden Ace of Spades champagne, which could cost anywhere from $25,000 to $60,000. Another time, he tipped a DJ $2,000 and had all the unopened bottles in the club sent straight to his house. The Miami Mansion. But as fun as LA was, it still didn't feel like enough. He craved more attention, more luxury, more extravagance. So what did he do? He chartered a private jet to Miami. There, he took his spending to a whole new level. In Miami, Malone settled into a waterfront mansion. This place wasn't just any house. It was a $10.5 million estate with a $62,000 a month rental price tag. This mansion was massive, covering over 8,500 square feet with 25-foot ceilings, 10 bedrooms, and a huge pool with a jacuzzi. It had 2 big front gates and a garage with a spacious driveway that was later filled with expensive supercars and luxury vehicles. The car collection. Malone's automotive purchases were absolutely staggering. A black Mansory Ferrari SF90, a white Lamborghini Urus, a fully kitted out white Mansory Lamborghini Urus with baby blue interior, a matte black Lamborghini Revuelto, the new Porsche 911 GT3 RS, the new Ferrari SUV in black, 2 Mercedes-Benz G-Class, 1 in gray and 1 wrapped with matte black camo, a convertible matte black and pink Rolls-Royce Dawn, a blue BMW M4, another Lamborghini Revuelto in matty gray, a blue Lamborghini Urus, an all-white wide-body kit Lamborghini Aventador SVJ with Malone's name written on the bottom of the door, a matte black Ferrari 812 Superfast, another Lamborghini Aventador SVJ in blue, a pink Urus, which Malone originally bought as a gift for his ex-girlfriend to try to get her back but got rejected again, a fully black carbon fiber McLaren 765 LT, a blue Pagani Huayra, and many, many more cars. Malone was always rolling with fashion. He rocked high-end designer pieces like Louis Vuitton and Givenchy. His style was expensive, with the most expensive piece of clothing being the Moncler Maya 70 by Palm Angels jacket, which alone costs $15,000 or more. But after all this wasted money on clubs and cars, Malone finally decided to invest in timeless pieces that would hold their value over time, like Cuban link chain bracelets filled with diamonds, a Richard Mille covered in diamonds, and a diamond ring for each one of his fingers. One Richard Mille wasn't enough, of course, so he bought multiple. Even his glasses had diamonds embedded in them. The generous criminal. Malone wasn't just a millionaire obsessed with himself. He had a generous side, often using his wealth to give back to others in need. He bought 5 Birkin bags and gave them away to random girls at the club. One of these lucky ladies was a model named Olivia Allen. Another lucky recipient was famous TikTok star Sky Bry, who ended up saying she didn't like it. While Malone was busy making his name known, flaunting his wealth at every turn, he was also drawing the wrong kind of attention. His outrageous spending, paired with his desire to be noticed, made it easier for authorities and blockchain experts to track him down. Investigators, including prominent figures like Zach XBT, were closely watching the flow of the stolen funds, tracing each move as he splurged on cars, clubs, and luxury items. The more he spent, the more obvious it became that his newfound fortune was linked to the heist. Soon enough, the walls started closing in. Malone thought he was untouchable, but behind the scenes, law enforcement and experts like Zach XBT were already connecting the dots. Through his flashy spending, investigators tracked large transactions linked to the stolen Bitcoin, using blockchain analysis to map out the movement of funds. What's more, both Box and Wiz slipped up during the laundering process. On several occasions, they accidentally linked the stolen funds with their personal assets. Wiz leaked his full name during a screen recording, while Box reused deposit addresses, making it easier to trace the funds back to them. These mistakes, combined with recorded conversations and digital footprints, painted a clear picture of the criminals' activities. The arrest. By mid-September 2024, the FBI and other authorities had gathered enough evidence to act. On September 19th, federal agents raided Malone's Miami mansion, where he was arrested surrounded by all the luxuries he had bought with the stolen fortune. It was a stark contrast. Malone, who had lived like a king for just a short while, was now being led away in handcuffs. This story isn't just about a major heist or the luxurious lifestyle Malone enjoyed for a brief moment. It's a lesson in greed, the dangers of showing off wealth that wasn't earned, and how quickly everything can come crashing down. Despite all the money spent, the nights out, and the flashy purchases, Malone's dream life was built on stolen funds, and it was only a matter of time before it fell apart. Authorities might recover some of the stolen money, but the damage done to the victim and the recklessness of Malone's spending spree are a reminder of how easily things can slip away. For Malone and his friends, what started as a wild ride of lavishness ended in arrests, asset seizures, and their names tied to one of the biggest crypto crimes in history. In the end, this heist shows us that no matter how clever the crime or how big the payout, the law always catches up, and the price they paid was far greater than the short-lived luxury they enjoyed.